Hello, this is Professor Gardetto, and this is the first mini video that I'm going to be posting to Canvas. What you should be seeing is the Connect Math screen. Hopefully, by now, you've either attended the Zoom lecture that took place June 14th. What I'm going to be doing is working through some of the homework number one problems on this video. Um, since we're just starting, the way we're going to be doing things is I'll be putting three mini videos in each of the modules. Each of them will be very short, not to replace the hour and a half lecture that is taking place every morning from 9 to 10:30 a.m. So this first one is going to be about topics on homework number one. So they're all online problems. All of your work is going to be done on this site called Connect Math. So there's instructions on the Canvas module on how to log in. At last check, I think there was like 14 of you that have already logged in, so that's good. So I'm going to take a look at these problems here. And so this is the first window that you'll see. And I'm going to go ahead and start the assignment. This is homework number one. And there are 36 problems. You can work these problems as many times as you want. There's unlimited number of attempts. So if you get one wrong, you could do a different problem and get it right and try to get 100% on all of the homework assignments. So now we're going to start by just doing some simple integer work. I'd rather you not use a calculator on these. I won't be able to tell if you're using a calculator or not, but there will be a time in this class that calculators will be used. But the thinking here is that we need to be able to be very fluent in adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers. And instead of saying positive and negative numbers, we actually have a word, we call those integers. So when we add integers together, we add them together like we did normally, but we have to make sure that we look at the sign in front. So -6 plus 4, I kind of think of it as like money. -6 is like owing money. So if I owed $6 to somebody and then I found $4 in the ground, so -6 plus 4, I'd still owe that person $2. So that -6 plus 4 is going to be a -2. So we just simply click the box there and we just use our keyboard. We can just put -2 in, and then we can go down and check the answer. Where is that at here? There it is. Just check the answer here. And I can check the answer. And when you see the green check mark, you got the answer correct. So like say this next problem here, I'll purposely get it wrong. Okay, so let's say I go -9 plus -15 and say I think it's 3. Okay, obviously that's the wrong answer. I'm going to check the answer. And it gives me a red X there, and it allows me to put in the answer again. So same problem, it says try again here. So I can just simply type in what the correct answer is. When we do add two negative numbers together, that would be like owing somebody $9 and then owing the person again $15. So what we do is we add these two numbers together, 9 plus 15, which is 24, but that's going to be a negative 24. Okay, so a negative plus a negative is always going to be a negative. And I can recheck my answer here, and I'll get the green check mark. It takes a second or two to pop up. So operation with integers are something that I'm going to be talking a little bit more about during the Zoom session this morning. Right now I'm making the mini video um, before the Zoom session actually is occurring. So let me go to problem 13. I'm not going to do all of them today. I'm just going to kind of go over a few of them. So when we multiply a positive and a negative number together, well, a positive times a negative is always a negative. There's basically four different rules here. Let me write over the top here. A positive times a negative. Well, let's start with a positive times a positive. Okay, a positive times a positive. This little dot means multiply. Positive times a positive is always a positive. A positive times a negative, or a negative times a positive, are always negative. So basically, if one of your signs are negative, your answer is going to be negative. And then the one that kind of doesn't make sense, but it will eventually to you, a negative times a negative. If you have a negative and then you multiply it by another negative, it becomes a positive. So there's basically four types of problems you'll have. So 15 times negative 4, well, we have a positive and we have a negative, so we know that's going to be a negative number. And then we just go 15 times 4. If you want to use a calculator to multiply 15 times 4, that's fine. That's 60. And so if we, let's see if I can get my screen back here. How do I do this? Back. I do not want the pen. There we go. Okay, so then I could just type in negative 60 here. Okay. Clear screen. There we go. Okay, so there's 13. I want to skip to 15. Division. Okay, it says divide and it says select undefined if applicable. Okay, there's one thing we can never ever do in math, and we can never divide something by 0. So any number divided by 0 is going to be this this word that's called undefined. And I think if you select the box here, it gives you a choice here to just, you don't have to type in the word undefined. You can just go undefined there, and then you can check the answer. The reason why, let me briefly explain why we get undefined here. Let's see. How do I get this? Focus, classic. There's the pin. Okay, so if we take any division problem, let's say we have 8, right, and we divide it by 2, right? If you take 8 divided by 2, you can write 8 divided by 2 that way, or you can write 8 divided by 2 this way. 2 ways of writing division. And we all know that 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, 8 divided by 2 is 4. And we could check division by multiplying, right? 4 times 2 is equal to 8. So we could take this number here, and we can multiply it by this number here, and we get this number on top. Okay, but if we had 0 on the bottom, okay, and let's say we wanted to find out what this was, okay, this is actually going to be very difficult because there are no numbers here that you can multiply by 0. Because what happens if you multiply something by 0? Any number you multiply by 0 is equal to 0. So whatever number I put over here in the box, I'm going to multiply by 0, and I'm never going to get 8. Okay, so that's why anytime we have a 0 on the bottom, the answer is going to be undefined. Okay, so if that second number is 0, we write undefined. Now, if the first number is 0, if it's 0 divided by some other number like 4, if it's 0 divided by 4 that way, or if it's 0 divided by 4 this way. Well, let's think about this for a second. If you take 0 and divide by 4, what number here could we multiply by 4 to get 0? Well, you got it. It's 0. So 0 on the top, 0 on the top, or 0 at the beginning is always going to give you 0. 0 on the bottom, or 0 on the second number of 0, it's going to be undefined. Okay, those are always a little bit confusing with the undefined and the 0. 17. Okay, so this one here, it says perform the indicated operation. Express numbers as integers or simplified fractions. So the same rules apply for division. If you have a negative divided by a negative, the answer is going to be a positive. You kind of think about these negatives here as just like canceling out. They cancel each other out. So we end up with this 4 over 21. It does say leave the answer as a simplified fraction. So 4 divided by 21, you don't want to use a calculator because 4 divided by 21 is some decimal. And there are no numbers that go into 4 and 21. So 4 and 21 is already simplified. Like if you had 4 over 20, if you had 4 over 20, you don't want to leave the answer as 4 over 20. You'll get it wrong because it's not simplified. So a simplified fraction is written in lowest terms. So like 4 over 20 would be written as 1 over 5 because 4 divided by 4 is equal to 1, and 20 divided by 4 is equal to 5. I know 4 goes into 4. I know 4 goes into 20. And as long as you have a number that goes into both the numerator and the denominator, you can divide it. Okay, nothing goes into 4 and 21. So what we're going to do here is just we'll just click this box, and it gives you this little icon here. Click that, and you can put the 4 on top, and you can put the 21 on the bottom, and check your answer. Okay, and don't worry if you get the red X because you could always redo it. I believe it's like 3 strikes, and then they give you a different problem. So you're able to answer a problem the first time. If you get it wrong, you can answer that same problem again. If you get it wrong, you can answer the same problem again for the third time. At the third time, though, if you get it wrong the third time, it'll probably tell you the answer, and then it'll give you a different problem if you wanted to try to get credit for that. You want to try to get as high of a percentage as possible for each of these homework assignments. Okay, so let's see. 21 is the next one I want to go over. Okay, so this one here is when it says evaluate, that just basically find the answer. We have to be very careful here with something called an exponent. So let's talk a little bit about exponents. When you have an exponent, I'm going to just take 3 raised to the 3rd power. Okay. Exponents are written in the top right corner, and it means that you're going to write the base number down. This is called the base. The base is 3. The exponent is 3. So you write the base down. You write the base down 3 times because of the exponent 3. So exponents are a shorter way of writing a multiplication problem that's repeated. So 3 times 3 times 3. Be careful not to add. 3 times 3 times 3 is not equal to 9. 3 times 3 is 9, but 9 times 3 is 27. Okay, now this negative here, this negative sign right here, is not raised to the 3rd power. If the negative sign was also raised to the 3rd power, you'd see it like this. You'd see it like -3 parentheses raised to the 3rd power. That would be negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. So in this case, we do 3 to the third power, which we know is 27, and then we just make the answer negative. So it's just going to be negative 27 here. This is not the same. This is not the same. These are not the same. Even though we say it the same way, we say negative 3 raised to the third. We say negative 3 raised to the third, but they're not the same problem. Okay, so I can clear the screen here, and I can type in negative 27. Okay, 25. Okay, 25 is a sign that's called the square root, and square roots are numbers that. Hold on, my phone is ringing. Okay. So square roots are numbers. Basically, a square root sign. It doesn't take half of the number. Let's talk a little bit about square roots. Square roots are undoing squares. So the square root of 4 is equal to 2 because 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Okay, so it might look like you take half of it, but let's just take the square root of a much larger number, like the square root of 100. Okay, square root of 100. We think of two numbers that multiply to get 100 that are the same. Well, I think you're thinking of 10 times 10. So since 10 times 10 is equal to 100, since 10 times 10 is equal to 100, we say the square root of 100 is just equal to 10. What a square root does is it eliminates a square. So if you take the square root of something like 10 squared, I could rewrite 100 as 10 squared. So since 10 squared is equal to 100, this square root and this square, they like eliminate each other. And that's why we get the answer of 10 here if we got the square root of 100. So in this case, it's going to be 2 because 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, put in 2 there and check my answer. Erase my screen. 27. Okay. 27 talks about using the order of operations. So the order of operations is the way we do a math problem that has a combination of signs like add, subtract, multiply, divide, exponents. And there's a little acronym that we could use. You guys might have heard it before. It's called PEMDAS. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more today during the lecture. So basically, it stands for the way we're going to be doing a math problem. The P stands for parentheses. The E stands for exponents. The M and the D stand for multiply and divide. And the A and the S are addition and subtraction. What I don't like about PEMDAS is it comes with a little funny saying that some math teachers have said before that I kind of don't. I think it's kind of lame. It's called "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." I mean, it's kind of a corny saying. I mean, you could make up something else that's a lot more, a little bit more hip. Like people experience miracles daily at Starbucks. That would work out a lot better. But I don't like this because it looks like the M and the D are always that way. When you get to multiplication and division, multiplication and division have to be done from left to right. And so are addition, subtraction. They should be done from left to right. So I like to think about PEMDAS as just doing 4 things. Okay, the first thing you do is parentheses. The second thing you do is exponents. The third thing you do is multiplication and division from left to right. So sometimes division comes first. Okay, if I gave you a problem like this, 10 divided by 5 times 3, right? We don't do multiplication before we do division. Okay, we do division first, then we multiply. So somebody that memorizes PEMDAS might get this problem wrong because they might do multiplication before they do division. Not the case. It's multiply and divide. That's what this arrow's for. Go from left to right. So 10 divided by 5 is 2, and then 2 times 3 is equal to 6. So in this problem here, we have to do the exponents first because we don't have any parentheses. So 3 to the 4th power, well, that's a pretty big number. That's 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 again. So we did 3 times 3 times 3 already in a previous problem, so that's 27. And 27 times 3, that's 81. So we have 6 minus 81. So that's going to be a negative number. That's going to be a negative number. And when we have to find out what the answer is, we know the answer is going to be negative, but we have to take 81 and subtract 6. So if you take 81 and subtract 6, you can do this on your calculator if you want. I'm just going to do a little borrowing, and I'm going to get a 5 here. So I know the answer is going to be a negative 75. Okay. All right. So moving through here. These last few problems, I think you have 36 total. These last few are going to take you a little bit longer because they're a little bit longer problems. For example, 29 is not that long. Well, 29 just has the parentheses there. So we want to make sure we do parentheses first. So that just means do what's inside the parentheses first. So inside the parentheses, 1 plus 4, so that's 5. And then 5 to the 3rd power is 5 times 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. Okay, so that one wasn't as long as I thought. I think there's a longer one in here. Let's try 31. All right, so here we go. This is where the order of operations comes in because there's a lot of stuff going on here. So we don't want to do too much at once. We want to kind of break this problem down a little bit. So we don't see parentheses. We don't see exponents. I just see a plus, a divide, a multiply, and a subtract. So where do we start? Well, we have to start doing multiplication and division from left to right. So what I mean by from left to right is I mean we got to go through the problem from left to right, just like we read a sentence from left to right. This is the arrow from left to right. And we're going to just do all the multiplication and division as they occur. Okay, so notice the first thing we run into is we run into this division sign. Okay, I skipped this plus sign altogether. So I just do 20 divided by 4. Well, 20 divided by 4 is 5. Okay, so now this is gone. I just made that equal to 5. Okay, now I have 5 times 3. Well, 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, so now this is gone. So I've done everything here, and now I have this problem left to do. 8 plus 15 minus 19. And now I have just addition and subtraction left, and I do these from left to right. I always do it from left to right when I have multiplication, division, and addition and subtraction. So 8 plus 15 needs to be done first. Don't go 15 minus 19 first. Do 8 plus 15. 8 plus 15 is 23. And 23 minus 19 is the last step. 23 minus 19 is 4. Okay, so I would maybe write these problems down on a piece of paper and then work your way down until you get to the answer. Okay, these last few problems are going to be the most difficult of the set. Okay, two more and then I'll be done. 32. Okay, 32. Again, we're going to use the order of operations. Here we have a little bit more going on. We have parentheses, we have exponents, and we have subtraction, and we have multiplication. Multiplication is right there because you have to assume if a number is written right next to a parentheses, it's multiplication. You don't always see the dot. Okay, but it's assumed that that's multiply right there. So order of operations, parenthesis first. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. And that's raised to the third power. Now we do the exponents. 2 to the third power is 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So that's 3 minus 4. And then 8 is, you can either leave it in parentheses or you can put a dot. I'll just go ahead and leave it in parentheses since you don't see the dot. I won't put the dot. Okay. So now we got to be careful not to subtract 3 minus 4 because that would be doing subtraction before multiplication. We need to multiply before we subtract. So we have to do this 4 times 8. If you want to think it as negative 4 times 8, you can. 4 times 8 is 32. So it's going to be 3 minus 32. Well, 3 minus 32 is a negative number, and that's going to be negative 29. That goes right here. Negative 29. Okay. Clear my screen here. And last one. 35. All right, lots of stuff going on in 35. So try not to do too much at once. You see a couple different sets of parentheses. These are called brackets. These right here are called brackets. Okay, so what we want to do is work on the inside of the brackets first. So inside these brackets, we have a set of parentheses. So the brackets also act like a set of parentheses. They're just the ones used after you've used the parentheses. You use the brackets. So I'm going to look inside here first. I notice that I have 5 minus 1 inside the parentheses, so that's a 4. And then I can take 4 squared, and that's 16. So that's what this is. This is going to be 16. And then 16 divided by 4 is 4. So 4 is left inside the brackets. I'm not going to do anything with the 30 or the 2. I'm just going to rewrite it. And then plus the square root is, it kind of acts like parentheses. We want to go ahead and do this problem here. So do what's underneath the square root sign. 53 minus 4. 53 minus 4 is 49. And that's a good thing because we take the square root of 49 and we get 7. And now we have a much shorter problem. And now we can go ahead and do the multiplication first. So 2 times 4 is 8. So we have 30 minus 8 plus 7. And we do this from left to right. So 30 minus 8 is 22. And 22 plus 7 is 29. So that's what we're going to put right here, 29. Check my answer. Okay. So that's the end of the mini video. I will be talking more about this during Zoom this morning. If you aren't able to attend the Zoom classes, they do occur every Monday through Thursday at 9 a.m. If you can't make them, try to view the recording. The recording will be up on Conference Zoom. Today, we're going to go over a lot of the first day of class things, go over the syllabus, how grades are going to work out. And there's also a discussion in the week one module. You'd want to go ahead and do that too. Okay, bye for now. I'll see you during lecture.